Hey everyone, it's Types. It's actually been a little while since I've done a style of video like this, looking at cards submitted to you. These are custom cards that are actually, these are really good. I spent a while since I've taken a look at them, and these are the ones from last month. I said I'm going to do it every month at, the past month here. So these are the top 10 cards. I actually ranked all the cards submitted to me last month in like a tier list, not in a video. Tell me if you're interested in that in the comment section, and we'll see like how this video performs as well. So if you want to see a lot more custom card stuff, make sure you like and comment and subscribe and stuff like that. But anyways, these are all cards I said submitted to me by you in my Discord server. You can find info about that on my channel. But anyways, they are super cool here, and the way that I'm kind of judging these are, what makes a good custom card. Obviously, it should be interesting in some way. It should be like unique from things we have. If it's just the same as any other card, it's not very interesting. Like, what's the point of it? Yes, there are lots of good cards in the game, but they're already in the game, right? On top of that, they should be, probably a little more interesting than those cards. Not just different, but there are things you can do with custom cards that you can't do with the regular cards. So that's kind of interesting. I'll talk about that a little bit. They can be a little more complicated. Also, they shouldn't be too complicated. You should be able to, read the card and like understand the card. Sometimes people overcook. I can do that as well, and things can go a little crazy there, a little too weird there. Then obviously, fun to play with and also play against as well. That is important. Something that is worth considering, and needs to be taken into account. It can be hard. Realistically, most of these cards are never going to get played, but maybe I'll do something playing custom cards. I want to do that at some point, but we'll see if we actually do that. There's also a few honorable mentions. These are also, as I said, I put them into a tier list, so top 10, but the top 10 end up being in the A and B tiers. So B tier is like quite good, and A is really, really awesome. I didn't have any S tier. S tier would be like literally perfect, like better than any card designed in standard right now or something like that, which would be really crazy. But definitely we got some really cool cards here, but I decided to include all the cards in B tier as well. So there are 3 extras. Let's just hop right in here with the first card here. This is going to be Fluid Water Energy. This is a special energy. This is submitted by Bad Hacker. They're actually like all of the types got one. But we're not covering all of them here, just the ones that are interesting. These are supposed to be more interesting than the ones we've actually seen. The set of special energies we see, which are still coming out, are kind of boring, right? I say telepathic psych energy is cool, and the rest are all kind of boring in my opinion, and from what I've heard from most people, they generally agree there. But anyways, this is fluid water energy. So water energy when attached to a Pokemon, but if it's attached to a water Pokemon, as often as you like during your turn, you may move this energy from one of your water Pokemon to another one of your water Pokemon. This is really interesting. Also, I will talk about this some with more cards. Some cards, do this, some don't. I would say it definitely adds to the card as being like kind of on theme. Obviously, it's water here, so it's fluid and it's like flowing around. It's moving around your board. We see moving water energy even in standard with Dugong. Dugong isn't very good. Side note, have any of you played with Dugong? If any of you have like cool Dugong lists, tell me about them. It's a cool card, but I have not seen literally anyone play it. I don't think. But anyways, this is definitely interesting, kind of fitting with water. It's also interesting how it, doesn't perfectly mesh with water has a lot of stuff that does basic energy stuff. Water is also pretty. I mean, it's not super bad right now. It's okay, but it's not like super good. You don't really have these true water decks, I don't think, unless I'm forgetting. I mean, you have. I know. Oops. Well, that's not loading. There we go. You have Stormy Frostlass, so that is a water deck. Whether you like could get value out of this, moving it between Mega Stormy and Mega Frostlass there. Where's that? Oh, that would be Mega Stormy, I'm pretty sure. So that deck does see play some, and this could definitely be a fun idea here. These cards aren't necessarily meant to fit perfectly into standard. Some are more meant to fit into it than others, but definitely a pretty cool card here. That'll be the next card here. This is Galarian Mr. Mime. This was submitted to me by Flint. This is a Pokemon that's dual type here, which we have seen this in the past. We see water and psychic. Both types, and this actually matters here as well. If you have at least one evolution Pokemon in play, this attack does 70 damage to one of your opponent's evolution Pokemon. Also play weakness and resistance for bench Pokemon. Doing 70 here, this is, in terms of balance, I think this is fine. Balance isn't like the biggest. Some of these are a little overpowered, I think. Some might be underpowered. We'll kind of take a look. I think they're pretty much all within the realm of balance, though, which can go from, the best cards in the game to like the worst cards in the game are kind of quote balance. Anyways, this one though, 70 for 1. Only if you have an evolution in play. I like this is kind of interesting as a condition here because there are some Pokemon that evolve quickly, so you could pair it with those to do this turn 1, and also it's weakness resistance for bench Pokemon, which is interesting. In standard, this will not be hitting a resistance on anything, but it will hit weakness on different types. So having 2 types is useful there. In terms of other 2-type stuff, it's both water and psychic. So if there's psychic synergy, like the telepathic psychic energy, that's synergy there, and with water synergy, like fluid water energy or something like that. That's not like a real card, but I can't think of water synergy off the top of my head. I'm sure there's something. There's Surfing Beach that doesn't seem very useful there, but definitely a fun card. I think not like super complicated, and I like it. Obviously, the 2-type stuff here is cool. I like the idea of dual type Pokemon. Obviously, it's a channel 10 types, which by the way you should subscribe to, as I said earlier, because it's cool. So I like the types, but a lot of times they're not used super well, or just like not used that much in the Pokemon TCG very intentionally. But here, the dual typing is used very intentionally, which is pretty interesting there. Also, hitting weakness and resistance on the bench is something we have seen in the past, and hasn't been, I don't think, super meaningful. But anyways, definitely a pretty cool and pretty straightforward card here. We have the next card here, the final honorable mention. This is Kartana, submitted by Darth Zigzagoon. This is an Ultra Beast. I will say this doesn't really do the Ultra Beast thing of interacting with prize cards, which is fine, but we have seen the previous ones interact with prize cards. We haven't seen any Ultra Beasts since Sun and Moon? Is that right? I don't know. Someone tell me in the comment section on that. We haven't seen the mechanics, certainly, though. So it's definitely been a little while. And this Pokemon here for 1 metal does 90, which is actually probably, this card's probably, the damage is going to be a little too much. I'd definitely tone it down, or probably increase the attack cost, to be honest, because 90 for 1 on a basic is a bit too good. I don't think it's broken, but it's pretty good. And then if this damage is increased, you multiply that increase by 2. This is before weakness. I'm not exactly sure on how all the details on this card would work, but the concept is kind of interesting. Obviously, you have stuff like I was gonna say there's like Kieran and Black Belts. What is that card? I'm blanking on the name. Black Belts Training. There we go. And then there's also, I think Vitality, is that in standard? I think Vitality Band is standard. I don't remember. No one plays it because it's not very good. Let me double check on that one. I actually might. No, it's not in standard. Never mind. I don't know why I thought it was in standard, but anyways, so you have, things like that though. Like Defense Band also. I'm trying to think. I feel like there's got to be some tool that is like increases damage. Okay, I'm gonna find this tool that increases damage. I know there's something. Brave Bangle. There we go. I knew I was forgetting something big. So yeah, Brave Bangle would work and double there. It is also, when I will say before weakness is multiplying. Wait, does it matter? Yeah, no, my brain's tired as well, right? If you add like 20 to this and then you multiply it by 2, no, it doesn't matter. You're multiplying it by 2, right? You're multiplying and multiplying? I don't know. As I said, my brain's tired. So, okay, I'm going to go through this in my head, or no, I'm going to go through this out loud. So if you have Brave Bangle there, and you are hitting weakness, and you multiply the increase by 2, if you do it before weakness, which is what you do here, which, by the way, is generally how damage effects on attacks work, then it's also increased here, so it doesn't change decrease, which is interesting as well. But anyway, so Brave Bangle, you'd be swinging for 120, you double that, and then so you'd be 240, and then after that you double the change. Actually, it just gets kind of wonky. I'm not gonna lie, because then the change gets. I think it does work the same, but yeah, you should definitely do it before weakness, because it gets harder to keep track of after weakness. But anyways, long story short, kind of cool, a little weird, as I said. It just was fear. The card's like a little overpowered. I don't think it's super problematic if it's in this form, but a little problematic. I think the idea is kind of cool. Obviously, a little clunky. I think if it had some more synergies with like another part of it as well, that could be cool. But overall, a pretty cool card. Then we have the next card here. This is Pokemon Rider. This was meant to me by Flint. This is a supporter, but you attach this to an evolution Pokemon as if it were a tool, as opposed to, tools kind of function like items. You can play as many as you want. This is going to use your supporter for the turn. Next used by the Pokemon this card is attached to, costs 1 less energy if it moved to the active spot this turn. I'm actually not 100% sure if this is supposed to be a colorless energy or an energy of every type. I'll look at Sparkling Crystal actually. There we go. I definitely didn't misspell that. Okay, yeah, so it would be of any type, I'm pretty sure. So this is definitely interesting. Obviously, it's like energy acceleration kind of. It's kind of like Crispin. Um, it's probably not super good. I'm not gonna lie, but it is interesting. Being energy acceleration, it's on a supporter, but like a supporter stays in play like a tool, which is interesting. I really like this idea of a tool supporter. I don't think it's super complicated. It's a little weird. But definitely fun. Thematically, I think it works decently well as well. I think having this requirement for switching to have this effect take place, allowing you to attack easier, is cool. Definitely just like a super fun card all around. I honestly love to see a card like this. I think it's like a little more than a card you generally see from the actual Pokemon TCG, but I think it fits perfectly as a custom card. It's not like the craziest or most interesting card ever, but it is pretty interesting and a card I really like here. And we have the next card here, Wallace's Orchestration. This is also submitted by Flint here. This is a supporter with two different options. This says you search your deck and discard pile for one Pokemon and put them into your hand. Then you shuffle your deck. So you get one from your deck and one from your discard, I'm pretty sure. The wording is a little awkward, especially like searching your discard isn't something you do. But yeah, definitely interesting there. I will say it's like it's like more powerful than something like PokeKid, which was a supporter. The other one here is search for a basic Pokemon, put onto your bench, and then after you shuffle, you draw 3. This is also going to be more powerful than some other spores we've seen, but the spores that's more powerful than aren't super good. I think this card might be a little too strong, but I certainly wouldn't really have an issue with this. I mean, I don't think it would be the best supporter in the game. It's just stronger than that are not very good. So it's a little weird there. But anyways, with Wallace's Orchestration, I think this is kind of cool. I think the two options are both pretty good. Again, not the craziest or most interesting card, but definitely kind of cool card with some two solid options. I like cards with options. And in terms of what it does, it's relatively straightforward, which I think is definitely nice. As I said, some custom cards can get really crazy, but I like this card. I like the options. Yeah, pretty simple, pretty straightforward here. With the next card, this one was actually also submitted by Flint. I will say there was another card that goes with it, which I will talk about. It is important, which is the Stage 1 Wallace with the same ability, essentially, as the Hydreigon here. But I'll read the ability on the Hydreigon. First, Polymerization. This one says, and this card was submitted by Flint as well. Once in your turn, if you have 2 Wallace in play, you may play this Pokemon onto your bench, and if you play any Pokemon onto your bench like that, discard 2 Wallace from your bench and all cards attached to them. The wording is a little awkward, but it's fine. And yeah, this card allows you to cheat out Hydreigon if you have 2 Wallace in play. That turn, right? So it allows you to evolve faster. And then there's the same ability on the Stage 1 where it's if you have 2 basics, you put that into play, allowing you to get the Stage 2 into play turn 1, technically, but you need to use 4 basics, 2 Stage 1s, and a Stage 2. It's kind of clunky there, but definitely really interesting. Being kind of combo-y, but not super complicated in its combo aspect. Then you have the attack, you slow up and destroy Psychic Darkness, you do 80, and then if your opponent's basic is knocked out by this, you take 2 more prizes. We've seen attacks like this in the past. I generally don't love them, and generally people don't love them because they're kind of annoying and pretty swingy as well, being hidden. Having your opponent, like if you're playing against this, your opponent turn 1 Hydreigons, which is possible, and I think the idea of it, taking 3 prizes is going to be pretty rough for you. I almost wish the attack, I think the name of the attack is kind of fun. I think the effect is a little boring. I'd like to almost see it interact with your previous evolutions in the discard or something like that. Or I don't know, so something a little more interesting, but I think it's kind of cool. And I don't have an issue with it, a huge issue. I think taking extra prizes, again, can be a little annoying there. But the ability is really fun. As I said, it's kind of combo-y, it's pretty combo-y, wanting a lot of basics in play, but it's not, super complicated. It's definitely fun, I think. I think cards like this, where you need to chew them into play in some special ways, are always super fun. And I think it definitely feels pretty fair, requiring a good chunk of resources being put into it. I think the resources are pretty clear what you're putting into it, which is fine. I definitely like this card and think it works pretty well. Again, not like the literally craziest card ever, but it's definitely cool. The next card here, this is actually the last one's been by Flint here. This is going to be Naganadel, and it's a Stage 1 Darkness Pokemon here, which is actually the first Darkness type. Is it the first Darkness Naganadel? It's like kind of weird. It's so in a pocket. But anyways, it has to do with, like, as I said, we haven't seen Ultra Beast in a while, and the types have like changed since then. But anyways, so you have this ability, Leech Stinger. If this Pokemon is knocked out by an attack from your opponent's Pokemon EX, your opponent discards prize cards instead of putting them into their hand. I mentioned earlier with the Kartana submitted that didn't interact with prize cards. This does. I think it's in a fine, straightforward, and mildly impactful way that feels pretty fair there. I just generally like this ability. I don't think it's like crazy or anything. It's pretty simple, but I think it works pretty well as well. If that was the only thing on the card, or the like driving factor to the card, I wouldn't really say it's super good, but it's not. It's just part of it, and it is a fun, nice little addition. Then we have the attack here, Prime Stinger for 3 darkness. This is expensive, so a little hard to pay, but that's fine. And then it's Prime Stinger, so knock out one of your opponent's Pokemon whose base HP is a prime number times 10. Again, this is getting a little complicated for the full, like the actual Pokemon TCG, especially like times 10. I feel like that's not really something we see very much, but definitely interesting. It also says one is a prime number, one isn't a prime number. But anyways, that's fine, I suppose. I like math a bunch, so it kind of bugs me, but whatever. I guess it bugs, which is the only thing with Naganadel. Is Naganadel a bug type? That actually doesn't sound right, does it? I don't know. But anyways, so Naganadel with the Prime Stinger is actually really interesting. I'm trying to think this through. So I think of what Pokemon have HPs like this. You'll see, like, I'm trying to think of, like, obviously a lot of random previous evolutions do. You look at a lot of 70 HP Pokemon specifically, and even like Lunatone Solrock, they're at 110 there. Then you also look at, I'm trying to think of like the big ones. Looking at the EXs, you'll see Meowth EX, you'll see, I think if there's stuff at like 230, that's like good. I don't know. There's a lot of 210, which you're not getting, and even like 220 you'll see. I'm trying to think through, and then you look at the like the big Pokemon and the 300s, and there's only a 310. Like there's only a Frostlass which you're getting. It's definitely interesting. It's kind of weird. It's kind of silly. I think this is perfect for a custom card though. I really like this, and yeah, overall, I wouldn't mind seeing some synergy between the ability and the attack, but I think they're both fine here on this card. Again, the attack is the big driving force here. It's kind of weird, but in a really fun way, in a way that I think feels fair. I mean, not completely fair. I imagine there's some games, if you're like, if there's actually in the metagame, it would probably wouldn't feel fair, but it's not, right? Again, this is a custom card. It was being held to a slightly different standard there, not necessarily a higher or a lower standard, but just a different standard. And I think it works pretty well there. Definitely fun. And yeah, I mean, I like wacky number stuff. And I think this works super well for that. Then we have the next card here. This is going to be Magnetized Metal Energy. This is card, I have to like stop counting cards. This is the 6th card here, right? Yeah, and this was another special energy submitted by Bad Hacker. This is obviously the metal one. And it says if the metal Pokemon this card is attached to has an ability, any other metal Pokemon with Magnetized Metal Energy attached may use this Pokemon's ability. This is a little complicated, but I think it's really fun. And I really love copying abilities. This feels pretty fair. I mean, you need a bunch of I saw some people talk about this in Discord, and like it can be really powerful if you have like 4, but also that's 4 special energies on your board. Like, how are you doing that? It is possible, but definitely kind of awkward, and it's really funny to copy abilities. I definitely think metal is one of the, I mean, it's one of the weaker types, and also one of the types that generally like has less Pokemon and less like good abilities in general. So it's definitely fun. I don't know exactly how it interacts with like when it's doing your turn abilities. If you have a Pokemon with multiple of the same one, I guess you just can't do that. You wouldn't be able to use it multiple times. There's definitely some weird stacking stuff, so it gets convoluted. I'd say maybe a little too much for a custom card, but in terms of fun, this is so fun with so much weird and wacky and janky, but super, as I said, fun stuff. I think it really hits the nail on the head there. In terms of theming as well, it's super awesome. You're magnetizing the Pokemon together, which obviously fits within metal, and then also fits with like sharing the abilities. Just a super awesome card design, and works really well as a special energy. In terms of adding some like really fun kind of gimmicky stuff to the game there. And the next card here, this is Flapple. This card was submitted by PyR. This is a card that's interesting. It was submitted as part of a like kind of going with some other cards. I didn't. I'm just talking about this card in this video. The other ones kind of synergize together in some ways. generally, I'd rather cards, I'm looking at cards kind of independently. The Hydreigon and Wallace are together, which we talked about earlier, but outside of that, they're all going to be individual because I don't generally like cards that refer to each other by name like a ton, requiring each other to be played. But I really like this card. I really like this Flapple here. Kind of on its own. So anyways, this is a Pokemon with 2 abilities in attack. I will quickly talk about the attack first. For Grass and Fire, you do 40 and 40 more for each colorless. In this Pokemon's retreat cost. Oh, in this Pokemon's retreat cost. I thought it was your opponent's, not that it changed it too much. It's not a super interesting attack. Theming wise, it's kind of fun with Grab Apple, and you have the attack, or sorry, the abilities drag up or drop up and what am I saying? Drop down and fly up. There we go. So you're going up and down. It's like a gravity, and then like higher retreats, more gravity, which is like kind of fun. The ability doesn't really interact with that though, or either ability. So I think the attack is fine. I could honestly see this Pokemon without an attack, though I think that would be slightly better. So overall, the attack's like kind of whatever. But then we have the abilities drop up. Or we keep saying drop up. That doesn't make any sense. Drop down. When this Pokemon moves from your bench to the active, you can discard all Pokemon tool cards attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It works well. Nothing crazy there. I think it's all right. Obviously, repeated tool removal is kind of interesting. Not like the most interesting thing ever or anything like that, but definitely kind of fun. And then you have the ability, the other one, Fly Up. Obviously, you have the Up and Down strategy. When this Pokemon moves from your active to the bench, obviously you have this idea of then you want to move it back and forth, which is super fun there, thematically as well and gameplay wise. But then when you do this, you may put this Pokemon all cards attached into your hand, which is interesting. This allows you to re-evolve. I don't know. I feel like the ability isn't necessarily super with Fly Up. You can like replay it. It works better if you have like a previous evolution or like other stuff that interacts with it, or if the other ability was kind of unplay. But obviously, it encourages you to like do weird stuff with it and mess around with it. I feel like this idea is super clever. I think the implementation is definitely fine. But I think, the idea of this Pokemon switching back and forth and having 2 abilities that kind of trade off, this is probably my favorite version of a 2 ability card we've seen. I don't believe this was submitted for the 2 ability challenge I had at one point. But I really love this. It's definitely my favorite of the cards like this because, going back and forth, again, really fits thematically. The abilities work kind of together here. And yeah, just like super fun, kind of bounces Pokemon around. To be honest as well, I have a sweet spot for Flapple. I think Flapple's got some really cool cards in the Pokemon TCG, so I really like it as well. Then we have the next card here, the 4th card here. This is the last card in B tier. The next ones will all be in A tier. This is the last of the special energies submitted by Bad Hacker, and this is Rock Launch Fighting Energy. This one, honestly, is really funny, kind of thematically, and really interesting as well. So again, it's a fighting energy, but then if it's attached to a fighting Pokemon, and it's the fighting Pokemon it's attached to uses an attack, which could be any attack, can be discard this energy and deal 50 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. It says don't apply weakness resistance, obviously, and then if another effect discards or moves this energy, that effect comes first and may not use this effect, which I'm assuming is right. I don't really know. I feel like that wouldn't really come up very often, but it does have that there. It could matter for like Rapid goes to a VMAX expand or something like that. That's the first thing I thought of. Oh, there's like Cynthia's Garchomp EX as well, which it would matter with. But anyways, this is really interesting because the idea is like you're throwing the rock off of the rock energy off of the Pokemon onto your opponent's Pokemon and doing damage that way. It's definitely, I might say it's a little overpowered turn 1. Because imagine you're just getting, essentially gives you another attack. It's kind of like TMs, but it's an attack you can use on top of your regular attack. So it's really funny here. In terms of balance, though, I think generally it's pretty fair because you are using your special energy and getting rid of it and committing it to do some extra damage. It's not like in the grand scheme of things, 50 isn't like a crazy amount. It's definitely pretty good. It could be really, really game changing, but isn't necessarily going to be game changing either there. Now I think about it, this couldn't, I believe, doesn't get stopped by Shaman. I feel like it kind of should, but I'm pretty sure reading the wording it isn't because like it's not an attack. I mean, you're using attack and then you're doing damage, but the attack isn't actually doing damage, I believe. But anyways, it's definitely really fun here. Just honestly, the idea, the visual in my head of just like the energy being thrown at your opponent's Pokemon is really funny. And it definitely adds, to different attacks. You can use it with setup attacks to apply pressure. You could use it with active attacks to do bench damage. But it definitely has legitimate downside as well. It kind of turns random Pokemon into Dragon Ball EX, but also, again, you have that downside, and fighting energy is a little, I mean, just special energy in general is really awkward to accelerate. Fighting energy, I guess, is doable. In general, basic fighting energy with like Barbaracle, so you could pair this with Barbaracle, not because you are using Barbaracle to accelerate this, but using it to accelerate the other energy. So you're getting two energies, well, still using the special energy there is the idea, if that makes sense. Like what you do with a Okidogi, where you actually play Barbaracle. But anyways, Rocket Launch Fighting Energy is super cool, kind of silly, and I really like this card here. Then we have the next card here. This is Smeargle EX. Smeargle EX, this is submitted by Bad Hacker as well. This card's super fun. It's a Pokemon with some really fun theming here with the creative differences. The ability, you choose an energy attached to this Pokemon, you search your deck for an energy and switch it with that card, then shuffle that energy, the first energy card into your deck. This can get basic energies or special energies, which is really interesting there. Then Sketchy Strikes here for 2 colors. This is actually a little confusing. Oh, also, I believe the ability doesn't say how often you can use it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much it matters if it's as often as you like or once in your turn, but it is something to keep in mind there. Obviously, in terms of gameplay, it matters. In terms of balance, it might matter a lot. It might just matter a little. But anyways, then the attack your Sketchy Strikes, you flip as many coins as you like. After each heads, this does 40 damage to your opponent's active. After each tails, this Pokemon takes 40 damage. So, and then you decide, or once one of the active Pokemon is knocked out, or the decided amount of coins are flipped, the stack ends. So I guess you choose before you flip. I'm pretty sure, not 100% sure on that one though, but definitely fun. Obviously, kind of, I mean, Sketchy Strikes, obviously got the pun there. It is pretty sketchy. You can knock yourself out, but you can do crazy amounts of damage as well. You could flip, enough to knock out anything technically. I think it's really funny here. Obviously, the attack and the ability don't really have any synergy, which I guess is fine here. Honestly, they're both so fun for custom cards. I feel like creative differences, theming-wise, are really fun there. And in terms of actual effect, really interesting in terms of being on Smeargle. We've seen cards like this in the past, or effects like this in the past, kind of, sort of, like similar ideas. But overall, this card is like, it's so fun. I mean, I think, I talked about special energies and you can't really accelerate them, but you can accelerate them here. Well, you can like accelerate basic energies and swap them with special energies, which is really fun. Not necessarily super good. In fact, I would say it's definitely not good, but it is, again, really fun. And potentially kind of crazy, but probably not. Mostly just a fun card that this is like a rogue deck builder's dream card, or like a meme deck builder's dream card. It's got the wacky coin flip stuff in a fun way. Coin flips can be bad if they're just randomly thrown onto cards, but this is not that. This is coin flips used very intentionally to work thematically, work in a way that makes the game more fun, not more annoying there. And the ability, again, is this kind of I'd say mediocre ability that has some really interesting ideas behind it and is something that people would love to deck build with. Then we have the next card here. This is indeed EX. This is submitted by Down. This card is a take on Trick Room. I'll quickly go over Healing Wish first, which is heal 120 from one of your bench Pokemon. I don't really love this. I wish it would have some synergy with the first attack, but the first attack is really interesting. Trick Room here. As far as I'm aware, in the video game, Trick Room just is a move that swaps the speeds of Pokemon, essentially, or like reverses it. So, anyways, you can only use this move here on your first turn going second. I'm not exactly sure why this restriction is here. Is this something from the video game? Like, is there a reason why you can only use it turn one going second? I feel like I don't love that aspect to it. But anyways, during the next 4 turns, both you and your opponent's turns count towards this. Then Pokemon with a retreat cost of 4 cost 3 less. Their attacks cost 3 less. This is definitely interesting. And this is to keep track of this using dice. A little clunky, but not like too bad. In terms of other interpretations of this, I saw another one. It was like, I'd say more faithfully accurate, but definitely really awkward to kind of parse through. This one is not that hard to parse through. I think it's definitely really fun. I could even see this being at 3 or 4, but I think this is certainly fine. It could be, subtracting numbers or something weird like this, but I think this is fine. And obviously enable some fun stuff. It can be really powerful, but, and I actually haven't thought through specific examples, to be honest, but it could be really powerful. That being said, it's in a it's your attack for the turn that's setting you up. It's definitely interesting. I think it really faithfully translates the idea of Trick Room from the video game to the TCG, but I think it also is an interesting card just in general as well. You can kind of deck build around, and I feel like it works pretty fair. I'd like to see the second attack kind of synergize with the first attack, if that makes sense thematically. I was looking up a little bit about it online if it makes sense thematically, and I think it kind of does. I think game design wise, you definitely want that. Healing Wish definitely doesn't feel very good. It feels pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie, but also I don't like healing attacks just in general. But I don't think it's very good. But Trick Room is super fun. I think this is an amazing adaptation of it, not getting too complicated. I just really love this, and obviously it's a very iconic video game move as well. For the last card here, this is Ditto EX submitted by Space Toaster. This is the top card here. This has the ability Transformative Evolution, which says once on your turn, you may choose a stage 1 Pokemon from your hand, evolve it by putting onto Ditto EX. When this Pokemon, when one of your Pokemon has evolved from this or involved in this way is knocked out, your opponent takes one more prize, and then you can't evolve it, turn 1. And this, this is the same ability kind of we've seen on Ditto Prism Star, which I talked about recently as just one of the best design cards ever. Potentially, certainly a fan favorite. And then you also have the attack your stick on. You can use it turn 1 going first if you want. You just go to your hand, draw 5, which is fine. Certainly a decent setup ability or setup attack with a nice effect there. It's not crazy, but we've seen stuff like this, and it's certainly fine. I wouldn't despise an energy acceleration attack or some type of other attack. I don't know. It's certainly fine. It could draw you into evolutions that have synergy with the ability as well. But it's generally a support Pokemon. And then a support Pokemon, though, that is your previous evolution. And it gives you so much versatility, allowing you to play all sorts of random stage 1s if you want. Just have so much more, wiggle room within your deck. We've seen Ditto Prism Star do that in Expanded. On top of that, though, it can, you could be playing essentially a Ditto EX toolbox deck, which is really interesting. That being said, you are giving up more prizes. You're turning your 1 prize into 2 prizes, 2 prizes into 3 prizes, and 3 prizes into 4 prizes as well, which is kind of funny. Not too big of a downside, maybe. I don't know. It could be. It kind of depends on how the game goes. But Ditto EX is definitely super fun. I think the ability has, if this was actually in the Pokemon TCG, I think it has tons of room for creativity in terms of deck building and strategy within games. I think overall it would be so fun to play with. I suppose one minor complaint here is that you're looking at the card underneath, the evolution being Ditto EX there. It's just a little weird to keep track of, something you're not really keeping track of in the Pokemon TCG, something you also can't see. So a little weird there, but overall, this ability is so fun. I really love to see this. I've been kind of flying through some of these later cards here because I think their designs are so clean and super good. Overall, I've loved looking through everyone's custom cards that they've submitted. They're super cool, but I hope you all enjoyed as well. Again, huge shout outs to everyone who submitted cards. And if you want to see more stuff, leave it in the comment section. And make sure you like and subscribe and do that to support the channel, and as a comment as well. Also, huge shout outs to my YouTube members for supporting me. It really does mean a ton. So again, huge shout outs to all of you. But I hope you all enjoyed the video, and as always, I'm excited to see you in the next one.